A creature weighing nearly 2 pounds is lifted from the dark, crushing depths of the ocean. Its body is pale, segmented, and armored like something fossilized rather than alive. Long antennae sweep the air slowly, as if it's confused by the sudden brightness. For the first time in its life, it is seeing sunlight. This animal has no name yet. No one knows it will become famous. No one knows it will challenge everything we think we understand about hunger, survival, and time itself. It is a giant isopod. In the early 2000s. Deep-sea fishing operations off the coast of Japan occasionally pulled up strange creatures from the abyss. Most didn't survive the rapid pressure change, but this one did. Against expectation, it arrived alive at the Toba Aquarium on Japan's eastern coast. The staff labeled it simply Number 1. It was the first giant isopod ever kept in captivity. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Number 1 explored its tank slowly, its jointed legs clicking softly against the glass floor. Visitors stared. Some laughed nervously. Others felt unsettled. It looked like a giant pill bug, the kind found under garden stones, except magnified into something prehistoric. It didn't behave aggressively. It didn't react much at all. It just existed. For months, it ate normally. The keepers fed it fish, mostly horse mackerel. Number 1 would approach, grip the food with its front limbs, and tear at it methodically, slow, efficient, silent. There was nothing to suggest anything was wrong. Then, on January 2nd, 2009, feeding time came as usual. Number 1 approached the food. It nibbled lightly. Then it stopped. It turned away. At first, no one panicked. Animals skip meals. Stress, environment, temperature, any number of harmless reasons could explain it. The keeper, Takaya Moritaki, moved the fish closer. No response. He waited. Nothing. The next day, the same thing happened, and the next. Number 1 would sometimes touch the food, sometimes push it away, sometimes walk directly over it as if it wasn't there. Moritaki tried different fish, squid, fresh cuts. No reaction. He adjusted the water temperature. Deep-sea animals are sensitive. Maybe it was too warm. Maybe too cold. Still nothing. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. By the end of 2009, Number 1 had not eaten a single bite. What should have been impossible had already happened. But it was only the beginning. Word spread quickly through the aquarium staff, then through the city, then across Japan. Visitors began arriving not to watch a feeding, but to watch a non-feeding. People gathered quietly around the tank as the keeper lowered food into the water, holding their breath as if waiting for a miracle. None came. Number 1 continued to move, slowly, calmly. It showed no signs of distress, no visible weight loss, no frantic behavior. Its body remained firm, its shell intact, its antennae active. Some days, it did something stranger. It pretended to eat. It would move its mouth parts, shift its legs around the fish, rotate the food gently. From a distance, it looked like feeding behavior, but up close, it never took a bite. The food remained untouched. It was as if the animal was performing the idea of eating, without actually doing it. By 2010, the story had gone viral. News outlets reported on the fasting crustacean. Online forums debated theories. Some joked it was stubborn. Others said it was depressed. A few suggested it was waiting for something, a seasonal signal, a pressure change, a biological cue that never came. Year after year passed. 4 full years. No animal in captivity had ever survived this long without food. Not reptiles. Not sharks. Not mammals. Certainly not crustaceans, and yet Number 1 remained alive. Then, on February 14th, 2014, Valentine's Day, Moritaki arrived early with fresh mackerel. The tank was quiet, Number one hadn't moved. He leaned in, gently lifted the animal. It was dead. An autopsy revealed no disease. No injury, no parasites. No organ failure that scientists could identify. Nothing obvious had killed it. It had simply stopped. By official count, number one had gone 1,868 consecutive days without eating. Japan mourned. People left flowers at the tank. Notes. Small plush mackerel toys. This wasn't just a curiosity anymore. It had become a symbol of patience, endurance, and mystery. Something that refused to explain itself, but the biggest question remained unanswered. How? How does an animal survive 5 years without food? To understand that, you have to leave the aquarium behind and go back to where number one came from. Far below the reach of sunlight. At depths where pressure would crush a human instantly. At the bottom of the ocean. Down there, the world is quiet. No plants grow. No photosynthesis occurs. There are no coral reefs, no algae, no grasslands. The energy that sustains life doesn't originate here. It drifts down slowly from above in the form of dead organisms, fish, squid, jellyfish, sometimes even whales. Most days, nothing falls. Weeks can pass without food. Months. Sometimes years. And that's the world the giant isopod evolved for. Giant isopods belong to the order Isopoda, an ancient arthropod lineage more than 300 million years old. Their relatives include crabs, shrimp, lobsters, spiders, and yes, cockroaches. In fact, the tiny pill bugs you find in your backyard are close cousins. The difference is that while those stayed small and terrestrial, giant isopods kept going deeper. Some species live more than 2,000 meters below the surface. Down there, speed is useless. Intelligence offers little advantage. There's nothing to chase, nothing to outsmart. The environment doesn't reward cleverness or aggression. It rewards patience. Giant isopods are slow, painfully slow. Their top speed barely reaches a walking pace. They have no venom, no powerful claws, no camouflage. Their brains are simple. They live alone. By most surface world standards, they are useless, and yet they survive. Their secret is armor and metabolism. The body of a giant isopod is flattened and heavily plated. Overlapping segments form a shell strong enough to withstand enormous pressure. When threatened, it can curl into a tight ball, protecting its softer underside, a behavior called conglobation. This doesn't just defend against predators. It conserves energy. Everything about the giant isopod is designed to burn as little fuel as possible. Its metabolism is extraordinarily slow. When food does appear, the isopod doesn't eat politely. It gorges. Observations from deep-sea cameras show isopods consuming massive quantities in a single feeding event. Their stomachs can expand. Their bodies store energy efficiently, converting rare meals into long-term reserves. Think of it like filling a fuel tank in a place with no gas stations. This explains how number one could survive months, even years, but 5 years? That's where things stop making sense, even by deep-sea standards. Number one was an extreme outlier. Some scientists believe the isopod may have entered a near hibernation state, lowering its metabolism even further. Others suggest it may have fed microscopically, consuming bacteria or organic films invisible to observers. There's also the possibility that captivity disrupted a biological clock tied to pressure, depth, or seasonal cues, but none of these explanations fully satisfy the data, because here's the uncomfortable truth. Number one wasn't just surviving. It was waiting. And whatever it was waiting for never came. Giant isopods aren't meant for glass boxes. Their biology is tuned to darkness, pressure, and unpredictability. Remove those variables, and something fundamental may break, and yet, even broken, It endured longer than almost any animal ever recorded, which raises a deeper question. If this is what a giant isopod can survive, what else can the deep sea endure? And what other limits have we completely misunderstood? Because number one story isn't just about one animal refusing to eat. It's about a world where survival doesn't look like struggle. It looks like stillness. And in the deep ocean, stillness can last a very long time. The deeper scientists looked into number one story, the more uncomfortable the answers became. Because if the giant isopod truly survived nearly 5 years without eating, then either our understanding of metabolism was incomplete, or the rules simply worked differently in the deep sea. To appreciate how extreme this is, consider this. Most mammals can survive only weeks without food. Reptiles and sharks can stretch that to months. Even famously resilient animals eventually break. Cells still need energy. Organs still consume fuel. Life, at its core, is an ongoing transaction. So how does an isopod delay payment for half a decade? The answer begins with the environment it evolved in. The deep ocean floor is one of the most energy-poor habitats on Earth. No sunlight, no plants, no predictable food cycles. Instead, life exists on a schedule dictated by randomness. A fish dies above. A carcass sinks. If you're lucky, it lands nearby. If you're not, you wait. And waiting is what giant isopods are best at. Their metabolism is not just slow. It is borderline suspended. Measurements of related deep-sea crustaceans show oxygen consumption rates so low they're difficult to distinguish from inactivity. Their tissues are efficient, their movement minimal, their organs designed to idle rather than sprint. Every heartbeat costs something. So they minimize heartbeats. Every step costs something. So they barely move. In this world. Doing nothing is not laziness. It's strategy. When food finally does arrive, it arrives in excess. A whale fall can feed scavengers for decades. Giant isopods worm these carcasses, consuming vast quantities in short bursts. Their digestive systems are built to handle overload, stretching to accommodate massive meals that would kill other animals. This feast and famine cycle defines their existence, which means number. One's last real meal may have been enough to fuel years of survival, but captivity complicates things. In the wild, feeding triggers aren't just food-based. Pressure changes, chemical cues, competition, even subtle vibrations in the water can signal a feeding opportunity. In an aquarium, many of those cues vanish. Number one wasn't just in a tank. It was in a world that made no sense to its instincts. Some researchers believe it never truly recognized the food as necessary. Others suggest the absence of pressure made digestion uncomfortable or inefficient. There's also the possibility that it entered a reproductive or molting standby state, waiting for conditions that never arrived. And then there's the strangest theory of all, that number one wasn't starving, that it was dying on its own terms. In the deep sea, some animals appear to shut down deliberately when conditions no longer match survival parameters. Instead of fighting, they slow further. Metabolism drops. Systems power down. It's not suicide, it's acceptance, a biological off switch. There's no direct proof that giant isopods can do this, but their physiology hints at something close. Their tissues resist decay. Their cells tolerate long oxygen deprivation. Their systems are astonishingly tolerant of number. One didn't panic. It didn't thrash. It didn't weaken. Dramatically. It simply became quieter. And then it stopped. This raises a difficult question for captivity science. If an animal is alive but not functioning as intended, is it truly living? Giant isopods are notoriously hard to keep. Many aquariums avoid them entirely. They require cold temperatures, dim light, and minimal disturbance. Even men's survival isn't guaranteed. Some refuse to eat, others behave erratically. A few, like number 1, turn into biological riddles, yet studying them matters because giant isopods are not evolutionary accidents. They are successful. Their body plan has persisted for hundreds of millions of years with little change. They survived mass extinctions that erased dinosaurs, marine reptiles, and countless other species. They did it by slowing down in a world obsessed with speed, intelligence, and dominance. The giant isopod represents a different philosophy, one where survival favors efficiency over ambition, armor over agility, patience over power. Even their reproduction reflects this. Female giant isopods carry some of the largest eggs in the invertebrate world. When the young hatch, they skip the larval stage entirely. No drifting, no vulnerability. They emerge as fully formed, armored miniatures, ready to crawl the seafloor immediately. There's no childhood. There is no wasted energy. Everything about them is optimized for endurance, which makes deep sea gigantism easier to understand. Down here, being big isn't a liability, it's storage. A larger body can hold more energy, survive longer between meals, and resist pressure and predation more effectively. Cold temperatures slow chemical reactions, extending lifespan. Fewer predators mean fewer reasons to stay small. The result is creatures that look like they belong to another era, because in many ways, they do. The deep sea is a time capsule. Evolution moves slower here. Changes that happen rapidly on land take millions of years below. Traits that work remain untouched. That's why giant isopods look prehistoric. They are. And number 1 was a rare ambassador from that hidden world. Its death didn't answer our questions. It created more. Was 5 years the upper limit? Or could it have gone longer? Did it truly starve, or did it shut itself down? Could different conditions have saved it? Or was captivity always incompatible with its biology? We don't know, and that uncertainty is the point. The deep sea doesn't explain itself. It doesn't perform for us. It doesn't care if we understand it. Number 1 lived longer without food than almost any known animal. It endured an environment it was never meant to inhabit. And in doing so, it reminded us that life doesn't always follow the rules we expect. Sometimes survival looks like action. Sometimes it looks like stillness, and sometimes it looks like a silent armored creature sitting in the dark, waiting, long after the world above would have given up.